Awesome, let's get started. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Hindi University. Really excited to be with you this Sunday. As you know, my name is Ashutosh, and we meet each Sunday 8 a.m. US Pacific time, which is the time in the west coast of the US, and we learn about the Hindi language. For those of you who are new to Hindi University, you can learn more about us by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hindi University. And you'll find a lot of Hindi related videos, okay? And if you're interested in joining the live class that we have every Sunday, you can find all the details on this page that we have, which is tiny.cc/Hindi University. And in case if you missed any of the previous classes, we have structured the classes pretty well from beginners to advanced level, and also the curriculum that we've been following, so you can easily catch up on the previous lectures. Last year we covered a book called Teach Yourself Hindi, so you can find all the videos of the book as well. This year we're covering two books. First one is the Pingu Learns Hindi, and the second one that we're covering is the Advanced Hindi Grammar by Ashu Ji. Okay, both the information about the book, it's there in this link as well. Okay, even if you missed any of the previous classes, as I said, because this is a very common question, sometimes you take a break for a couple of weeks and you have this fear of am I gonna be able to catch up? Absolutely, you'll be able to catch up. Okay, most of the topics we try to do the brush up, so there won't be any problem. And a lot of times the topics are rather distinct. So there's not while some background information is needed, it's not like you'll be completely lost. Okay, so with that in mind, I hope you can all hear me okay, and both on Facebook and Zoom. And the plan for today is we'll be covering new chapters from both the books. From first half an hour, we'll be covering Pingu Learns Hindi from 8 to 8:30. From 8:30 to 9, we'll be covering the Advanced Hindi Grammar. So for the beginners level, I'll be covering Hindi pronouns today. So as you know, so far we have only covered in the beginner session the pronoun, personal pronoun called मैं, which is I. Today we'll be covering all of them. Okay, and in the advanced Hindi grammar we'll be covering using multiple subjects in Hindi. Okay, multiple subjects. Oftentimes, generally speaking, when I use the examples in the class, there's only one subject. Okay, and Ashu Ji, she kind of brings up this point, what if there are multiple subjects in a sentence, Ron and Radhika, or something like that, right? So that way, you'll get to practice those as well. Okay, let's get started. Let's just jump right into it. So personal pronoun. So the first half will be rather easy for most of you. So just enjoy it, because this is the topic I assume most of you are already familiar with it. If not, at least it'll be a good catch up for everyone. Okay, so far when you talk about personal pronoun, it's anything to do with me, right? Or with a person, right? That's what it is about, right? So far, as you all know, we only covered the first one, which is I, as you know, in Hindi is मैं. Okay, I interchangeably use it in the video as मैं, or sometimes in the previous very old videos you could see this as well. But essentially in the Devanagari, if you're talking about it, I'm really referring about this part, मैं, I. Okay, so give me 1 minute. I'm gonna mute some of you so there's no background noise. Okay, perfect. Right, so simple table, मैं. Okay, when we talk about you, we have multiple ways of saying you in Hindi. Might as well ask some of you about how to say you. So let's say Bujun, you want to unmute yourself and tell us how do you say you in Hindi?
I forget this.
You forgot? Anything remember vaguely? So it's when I say I and then मैं and then Very good.
Oh.
Yeah, very good. See,
Suddenly.
yeah, that's how it happens. It takes just like a little bit of nudging, right? So मैं and then you said आप, right? What else? Are there आप is a little bit formal, right? When you're referring to someone formally, you will say आप. What if I want to say someone rather semi-formally? Any beginner level person would like to share? Completely beginner. Very good. Tum. Tum is also you, but rather a semi-formal way of referring to someone. Tum. And then little more informal. Anjali ji? Two, very good. Two is informal. Okay, so that's how you will refer to anyone in Hindi. I end up using most of the time aap, like मैं आशु हूँ, and then you will use the variations of aap, like आपका नाम क्या है और आप कहाँ से हैं. In all of them, you are using aap or आपका or आपके, right? So that's sort of like the you. Okay. In Devanagari, if some of you are interested, is aap. Okay, that's how you will have it, and then you have tum, and then you have a tu. That's your you. Okay, and then you have the he, she, and then it. Okay, which is in Hindi is always vah. Okay, and then you will write it as vah hai, vah hai. Like vah kya hai? What is that? Okay. Similarly, vah kaun hai? Like who is he or who is she? Vah. Even for so he, she, and it. And then we have we, which is hum in Hindi. Hum. Okay. Then you have they, which is way in Hindi. So far so good. I hope this is rather straightforward for everyone, right? Because you've gone through it multiple times. For the most part, you will be using for personal pronoun only these. Okay. As you learn more and more post positions, you will end up using these pronouns with the post position, and the form will change. So if you recall, in the previous class we learned about post positions ka, ke, and ki. Okay, and I told you to practice those post positions with this pronoun aap. So aap becomes aapka, aapke, aapki. Okay, so your house becomes like aapka ghar. Okay, same thing, like if you want to use it with tum, your house becomes tumhara ghar. If you want to use with tu, it becomes tera ghar. Okay, so while it's easy, the moment we start using applications, you start seeing the value of it. Okay, so just remember that. Okay, similarly, like when you use it, like your friend, okay, or his friend rather, right? I mean, your friend is like aapka dost. Okay, but if you want to say like his friend, you would use vah with ka. Okay, uska dost. So just remember them. Like so far, these are straightforward, but as you start using it with post position, the form will change. Okay. Now the next thing is like, how do we use them, right? So I'm gonna erase most of it here. In a very, very basic form, if you guys want to use them in the sentence, you will see in English, you will say I am. Right, so I'm going to start with this one. In English, you will say I am, and then you will start a simple sentence. In Hindi, it's मैं हूँ. Okay, and we covered it in the very, very first lecture. Like मैं आशु हूँ, मैं Indian हूँ, मैं teacher हूँ, मैं traveler हूँ, and you keep on going on and on with that, right? So this is nothing but representation of am in Hindi, whom. Similarly, now that you're learning more personal pronoun, when you're starting with you are, you have aap and you have hai. And you can continue with what we covered in the in the previous chapters, and then you feel free to use any of the nouns in between, like aap kahan hai, which is interrogative, where are you, okay. Aap teacher hai, you are a teacher. And then as I said, like aap I'm just thinking out different things that you can use here, but आप student हैं, आप researcher हैं, so you keep going on and on with that, right? So nothing but like आप, and then the template is आप हैं, okay. Similarly with वह, you will say he is or she is, and in Hindi it's वह है, okay. And then with हम it's हैं, okay. And then with वे also it's हैं. Now some of you may ask, like what is the difference between this and this? With singular you will have this hai, and with plural you will have this nasalized sound hai. That's why you have this subtle difference there, okay. And then this one is whom, this one is same as this one, like hai. Any questions so far? I know this is rather simple, so I want to see the questions from you. So let me take a pause here to see if something comes in your mind so far before I ask more questions.
Ashu Ji,
yeah.
Isn't aap, you didn't point that out as even though it's a singular, right. It's the verb is used as plural.
That is correct, right? So you want to be respectful. Her point is like even though you are referring to one person, you will still have like the nasalized sound there. Absolutely correct. Okay, and I didn't cover here, but like with tu and tum,
is it tum that way as well?
Yes, that is correct, right? So when you are saying tum,
yes.
When you have tum and you will end up with ho. When you're saying it with tu, you will have it hai, tu hai. Okay, tu hai. So far so good, right? So why don't we make simple...
I'm sorry, I just have to answer my colleague. I don't know who that was. Tum, if you refer to nouns, it's plural, but it's not
correct.
When you say tum.
But I want him to point out that it's ho.
Yeah.
Hey or hey.
Yeah, I think she was, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tum ho and tu hai. Okay, so let's try to make simple sentences. I hope this is clear. This is a very, very straightforward thing. Even though I've written it present tense right now, you get it, like, way in the past will change to a different form of tha, the or thi. Okay, but right now I've just put it in the present tense. Okay, so let's see who would like to make a very simple sentences using this part. Okay, and as I said, you can put emotion, you can put a job or profession in between. You can put any kind of emotion. Okay, even if you don't know the Hindi word, you can just
Aap adhyapika hain.
Okay, very good. Aap adhyapika hai. Awesome. What else?
Aap dard hai or tum dard ho.
Tum Dutch ho? Is that what you said?
Dard like pain.
Okay, so that is like to you. There is
tumhara.
More mood, yeah.
No, so
I see. It would be tumhen.
तुम्हें दर्द है और तुमको दर्द है. Very good.
So could it be like tu kati hai?
Huh?
Or tu kati ho? Would that be right?
That's correct, right? You want to say tum khate ho. So we are using verb there right now, okay? Which is correct. Grammatically is absolutely correct. Let's see, you can use anything which is sort of a noun right now. because verb we will come to that slowly, but I was referring to, if you want to make it even simpler, you can use noun there. How about I give you all some time and you write down in the comment, so that way we'll have more variety. Everybody will have the opportunity and the chance to write it down in the chat. Keep it very simple. I can give you my sentences, which is like आप कहाँ हैं, where are you, okay. वह scientist है, which is he is a scientist. हम खुश हैं, which is we are happy, okay. वे upset हैं और वे गुस्सा हैं, okay. They are upset, okay. Those are my sentences, and I'm gonna see what you guys come up with. You can write it down, and then I'm gonna ask you guys to read out. But if you have any questions, definitely.
Ashu Ji,
Yeah.
my keyboard.
Say it again.
Keyboard doesn't work, Ashu Ji. I'm using a tablet.
Okay, no problem. No problem. So you can just write down on the paper, and then I'm gonna ask you to read out. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. All right. So Tisina ji is saying, मैं लड़की हूँ, आप कैसे हैं? How are you? Awesome. वे अमरीकी हैं, they are American. हम हिंदी क्लास में हैं, awesome. We are in हिंदी क्लास. मैं ट्रिनिडाडियन हूँ, हम खुश हैं, awesome, great. आप शिक्षक हैं, awesome. Christina ji, you want to share?
Just a sentence?
Yeah, simple sentence, as simple as that.
Okay. मैं इंजीनियर हूँ.
मैं इंजीनियर हूँ. Awesome. Okay, great. मैं इंजीनियर हूँ. Claire जी, Professor Claire.
मैं थकी हूँ.
मैं
थकी हूँ.
Okay, I'm tired. मैं थकी हूँ. Okay, Colin.
मैं भी थका हुआ हूँ.
मैं भी थका हुआ हूँ. Also, I am also tired. सुनीता जी. मैं बीमार हूँ. I am sick. Okay. So in case if some of you are not familiar with the word, it's बीमार, which is I am sick. Okay. शर्मिला जी.
मैं अध्यापिका हूँ.
मैं अध्यापिका हूँ. Awesome. सुविलाई.
वह अपना पिता है.
Say one more time. वह
अपना बेटा है.
Okay. वह, you are trying to say he is our son.
My son.
Okay. वह मेरा बेटा है और वह, yeah, that's right. वह मेरा बेटा है. Okay. Tara ji, great to see you. We are seeing you after so many months. So welcome. You want to share something? If you need more time, that's completely okay. Awesome. I'll come back to you, Tara ji. Okay. Tom.
नमस्ते आशु जी, मैं अमेरिकन हूँ.
मैं अमेरिकन हूँ. Awesome. Tyler.
मैं एक पिता हूँ.
मैं एक पिता हूँ. Okay. Great. Sharon ji.
I wrote it in the chat, but I didn't use a मैं. I said मेरी बेटी यह छात्रा है.
छात्रा है. Okay. So you use मैं plus की, which
No,
is.
I used
यह.
or ये.
Okay, this one. So what is the sentence? यह.
Why are we only using वह and not यह as well?
So we will cover that. So far these are personal pronouns, and then right after that we'll jump into the demonstrative pronouns, which is यह, वह, ये and वे. But if you know it, feel free. There's no There's no problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use मेरी बेटी वह छात्रा है.
Okay. मेरी बेटी एक छात्रा है, which is मैं, my daughter. So मैं, I becomes my with when you put the postposition along with that, right?
Right.
Because daughter is feminine, you will put मेरी बेटी. Okay, if you guys recall from the previous class. Okay, मेरी बेटी, and then the ending changes. It's no longer मैं. Okay, so मेरी बेटी एक छात्रा है और student है. Great. Okay, we'll take a couple of more. Risha ji, you want to go?
जी मैं गृहिणी हूँ.
मैं गृहिणी हूँ. Okay, awesome. Which is I am a homemaker. Okay, great. Let's see, Randall. Try to use more than मैं. Okay, मैं we have covered. We want to see the other ones as well now. Okay, well, Radhika ji. To unmute yourself. Okay, and then in case if you are busy, let's see, Aneska ji, you go next.
वह यूक्रेनी ही है.
Okay, वह, is that the one you're using?
No, they
Okay, awesome. वे यूक्रेनी है. They are
यूक्रेनी है.
okay. They are Ukrainian. Awesome. Anyone else?
मैं बीमार नहीं है.
मैं बीमार नहीं हूँ. Awesome. Great. Tara ji, I see you now. So you know, sorry to put you on spot. You want to unmute yourself?
वह आलसी है.
वह आलसी है. Okay, great. So she said the word आलसी. Alasi, which is, what is alasi, Tara ji? Lazy. Very good. He is lazy, right? वह आलसी है. Awesome. Any questions so far? I hope this should be very straightforward. This is like really, if you know the template, it should be rather straightforward that I can put a bunch of different, varieties in between. Okay. Any questions though before I jump to a different topic? This is your chance. Okay. If you look at Pingu Learns Hindi, there are some exercises as well, right? So for beginners, I definitely want you to cover chapter number 4 because this is where you will build the foundations, and to give you some, if you guys didn't get a chance to share right now, I can erase it and let's see if you guys remember it now, because the key is to remember. So I'm going to write down some sentences and I want you to so the sentences that I have is, they are, all of you should try to write down in Hindi. They are upset. He is an artist. Okay. And then we are worried. And then I'm going to have one more. You are a journalist. I hope I spell it correctly. Okay, so these are the 4. Okay, and that way at least like we can finish up these personal pronouns and move on to the next topic. Okay, so all of you should try to take time and write them down in Hindi. And as the same thing for folks who are watching on Facebook as well, I want all of you to write them down. Barbara ji, Leah ji, Suveni ji, Ash, all of you. The key here is like whether you know the Hindi word for these, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't know, you should be able to, attempt it. Okay, let's see. How are we doing here? Okay. Vatsalaji, you want to try the first one?
वे परेशान हैं.
Very good, right? So she said वे परेशान हैं. And if you don't know the word, you can say वे upset हैं. That's completely acceptable. Okay. Let's see. Rita ji, he is an artist.
वो कलाकार है, वो artist है.
Okay, so you can say वह. Colloquially, people will say वो as well. Completely correct. वो एक
कलाकार है.
So it's kala and then कार. Okay, वह एक कलाकार है, वह कलाकार है. Awesome. Someone who hasn't had a chance yet. Samarji, you want to say we are worried? If you don't know the word for worried, just use worried.
हम worried हैं.
Very good. हम worried हैं. Okay. Anyone else would like to help? What is the word for worried?
चिंतित.
Okay. Okay.
परेशान.
Okay. You can use pareshan. That's completely correct. Any other word that we can use here?
Chinta.
Of fikr.
Okay. So chinta is worry. Chintit is the word, the variations. Chintit. Okay. Chintit. Chinta is worry. Chinta is worry. But when you're using it in this context, is chintit hai. Hum chintit hain. Okay, so either hum chintit hain, you can say pareshan, you can say dukhi. Anything else that comes to your mind? Okay, good. Let's say Ingaji, you want to do this one? You are a journalist. Try with the template first. You are is?
आप हैं.
Very good. आप हैं. And then just fill in the blank in between.
Journalist, I don't know.
That's it. Just say journalist. आप journalist हैं. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. As simple as that. Like, you don't make it too complicated. Okay.
Okay.
And the next thing is like, the next thing is you can use the formula. Who remembers the formula? In the very few earlier classes, we used the formula to find out the word of.
हिंदी में
हाँ.
journalist को क्या कहते हैं?
Awesome. Ask someone in the class. Pick anyone. You have so many amazing students, like friends here. Pick anyone.
रीता जी, journalist को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं?
So she's asking Rita ji, you have to
Is
respond.
it Petrarca?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Yeah, go for it.
Papa's Molière?
रीता जी, हिंदी में journalist को क्या कहते हैं? और क्या कहता है? क्या कहते हैं? I don't know which one to say.
Just go with the flow. क्या
It's
कहते हैं?
generally said, so कहते हैं.
Okay.
Okay. Respond to her, Rita ji.
आप journalist नहीं है.
Okay. So she's asking, right? What is it called in Hindi? Do you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
Pachika.
Okay.
Pachika, something like that.
Okay. So it's a patra.
धन्यवाद रीता जी.
Patra, car.
Okay. Awesome. So just like they had kalakar for artist, you have patrakar for journalist. Okay. So now you know Ingaji. Can you say the sentence?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry. Up Patra hang.
Very good. So aap patrakar hai. You are a journalist. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So far so good. Okay, so this was a rather simple, very simple thing, and hopefully it was a brush up for most of you. So homework exercise here is pretty simple. I want you to at least, with each of the personal pronoun we discussed, try to think about at least 2 or 3 simple sentences. We made it very simple. You don't have to stick with just the affirmative cases. You can make the negative sentences as well, like वह परेशान क्यों है. Think about it, like why is he worried, okay, or why are they excited, okay. So think about, like you don't have to stick with just affirmative cases. Try to think about negative and interrogative as well, okay. Those are all the fair ask here. When we do the exam, I might ask those as well, right? Because this is a rather simple thing. So simple homework, 2 to 3 sentences for each of these personal pronouns. Okay. Now we'll shift the gears and we'll jump to the advanced topic from Usha Jain, which is how do we use. So far, if you look at it, we didn't really use, like we can use name as well, right? So let's say instead of you are a journalist, if you were to say Rita is a journalist, right? So we'll just use her name, Rita एक journalist है, okay. Instead of Rita, if it was Ron, we will still say Ron एक journalist है, okay. Now Usha Jain, she makes a point in this new chapter, like what if it is a combination of 2 subjects? What if it is Ron or Rita and you want to say they are journalist, okay. What if it is Rita and Sunita, okay, both are female and we are making a sentence? How will we do the ending? Similarly, what if it is Ron and Tyler, okay, or Tyler, so all the variations, how will this change? So this is what we'll cover in this half of hour of the class. So I'm going to erase it. Hopefully you guys were able to write it down, and we'll discuss how multiple subjects work in Hindi. So before that, I'll write a very simple sentence here, right, which is basically, if you guys recall, now I'm going to write multiple subjects. So if I were to simply say Ron walks, in Hindi I will say Ron chalta hai, okay. So it's present indefinite tense. If you guys recall, the verb here is chalna, which is chalna is to walk, okay. When I'm using it for masculine singular, what I'm doing here is I'm removing na and I'm putting ta. Ron chalta hai, okay. So that's what I did. I removed na and I put ta and I say Ron. You guys know already Ron, and then there is embedded, to be form of the verb here. So Ron walks, which is Ron chalta hai, okay. If I were to say for a female, it would be Riya. I'll remove the na, and for a feminine singular, I will put ti, okay. So just like Ron chalta hai, but for Riya it would be Riya chalti hai. So far so good, okay. So masculine singular, okay, and then you have feminine singular, okay. If it is masculine plural, the verb is changing as, let's say instead of Ron, I'm saying bachche, and for masculine plural, I'm gonna put chal te hain. So you remove the na and you put a, chalte hain, Okay, बच्चे चलते हैं. And for feminine plural, you will put, let's say if I want to just say girls, it would be बच्चियाँ. And here you would put चलती हैं. Sorry, I just made it a little bit crowded, but hopefully you guys are able to see it. Okay. Let me know if there are any questions, because this should be rather straightforward. Masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. Okay. It's important to write it down first, because I'm going to remove, we'll no longer be using one subject right now. Right now it's one subject, multiple subjects, but we used a plural noun here. Okay, we'll be replacing it with multiple subjects soon. So write it down so that way at least it's there. Now, if I were to remove this part, and if I were to just say, instead of Ron walks, I want to say Ron and David walk. Okay, similarly, okay, so I think let's just keep it simple. Ron and David walk, and you have Ron and David talk. In both the cases, you have masculine singular and masculine singular. Both are same gender. How will you say it in Hindi? Let's see. Taraji, what do you think? Ron and David walk.
Ron और David चलते हैं.
Ron or David. You said चलते. Is it है this one or है this one?
This one है.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. So explain your thought process. Let's do this one also, Taraji, and then you explain your thought process. Ron and David talk.
Ron और David बोलते हैं.
Ron or David बोलते हैं. So, how did you come up with this sentence, Taraji? Explain it.
Because it's plural.
Okay. So, when they are same gender, you end up using the masculine plural form. Okay. So, if you guys recall, when we had the masculine plural form, which is बच्चे चलते हैं, we had that. So, you end up using this one as well. Ron or David चलते हैं. So, you remove the na and you put te here, and then you end it with hai. This one is straightforward. Okay. What if I replace it with, thank you Taraji. So what if I, now have, instead of Ron and David, I have Riya and Diya. Riya and Diya, same thing, walk, and you have Riya and Diya talk. Modangji, you want to give this one a try? I hope you're still there.
Riya or Dia chalti hai.
Okay. So you have
Riya.
Yeah. Finish it up. It's okay.
Riya or Dia baat chalti hai.
Okay. So I'm gonna write it down. So you have Riya or Diya walk, right? So you have chalti hai. First one or second one? Hai or hai?
Second.
This one. Okay.
Hey.
Okay. This one. Riya and Diya talk.
Riya or Dia baat karti hai.
Okay. So Riya or Diya. Instead of that, let's say you want to use the verb bolna. You're absolutely correct. Let's say, yeah.
Bolti hai.
Bolti hai. Okay. Explain your thought process here. How did you come up with this one?
They're both feminine. Plural
Okay,
sentence. Plural sentence.
very good, right? So they both are female, so you end up using the feminine plural. The verb is changed accordingly and the ending is changing accordingly. Okay, this is the most straightforward case where you don't have any they both are same, both guys, both girls. Okay, now we will do the any questions so far? Anyone? No questions? Okay, it'll get interesting after that. Okay, so so let's say if I have Ron and Ria. So you have Ron and Ria walk. And Dia and David. Take a moment, okay? Don't rush. So now it's combination Ron, guy, Dia, girl. Guy is coming first, girl is coming next, and then in this case, ulta. Dia is coming first, David is coming next. Okay? Now we are using combination, multiple subjects. Okay? It may not matter in this case, but when we talk about non-living things, the order matters. Okay? So let's see. Anjali ji, you want to help us with this one?
Ron और रिया चलते हैं.
Okay. And this one?
रिया और डेविड बोलते हैं.
Okay, so let me write it down. Say it one more time.
Ron और रिया चलते हैं.
Ron और रिया चलते. This one or this one?
हैं. again. And.
Okay, and this part?
Dia और डेविड बोलते हैं.
Explain your thought process. Why did you use why did you use chalte and bolte here? Why not something else?
Because there is a male person there.
Okay.
So it makes it, and it's a plural, so then it defaults to being masculine.
So the what you're saying is like when there's a combination, one male, one person, and one female, you default to masculine plural. Right? You default to masculine plural setting. Okay? That's what it is. I hope everyone is clear about that. When there are multiple subjects, even though you may have a male and a female, the verb is changed according to the masculine plural. Okay? I'm gonna erase this one. There's another case here when sometimes, you have not just Ron and Ria. It could be Ron, Ria, and then let's say or Mia. Multiple subjects, sub. Let's say you add an all, chalte hain. Even then it defaults to masculine plural. Chalte hain. Okay, Ron, Ria or Mia sab chalte hain. They all walk or sab bolte hain. Okay. Usha then makes another case here, which is like sometimes when you use the number of subjects, you also say dono, tino, charo. They are all derived from the numbers. Okay, there also you're defaulting to chalte hain. So I'm gonna erase some of it. Okay. So let's say you have 2, which is do. From do comes dono. You have 3, which is a teen. Don't read it as teen, read it as a teen. And you have tino. And then you have char. Number 2, number 3, and number 4. 4. So char, चारों. So dono is, what is dono? Anyone?
Or second.
Both.
Both. Very good.
Both, yeah.
Yep. Tino?
Three people.
Three. Okay, all three. Very good.
All three.
And then charo?
All four.
Very good. Awesome. So it's just like I'm saying it in Hindi, like Ron and Ria, they both walk or they both talk. Okay, so you will say Ron or Ria दोनों बोलते हैं और दोनों चलते हैं. Okay, so play around with those. Okay, this is useful for you, so play around. Any questions so far? Who thinks it's hard? Maybe share your question there. Anyone? Thoughts? Straightforward?
I have a thought.
Yeah, go for it.
When we have the male and the female there, the way I do it is I don't default to. I just default to they.
Okay.
Because you have a group. So
Yeah.
if you have like Ron and Ria, it's not male, it's they.
Yeah, you can say that. So you are saying like to avoid any kind of confusion, I just say वे चलते हैं और वे बोलते हैं. But then you're also
Yes.
in your conversation you already have spoken about Ron and Ria, so there is already context to the person you are talking to, right? So then it helps, right? But let's say this thing comes in a quiz or something like that, then you will end up remembering this. So, but that's a good one. That's a good. Any other thought? Okay.
Ashu Ji,
Yeah.
if you say like they and you're referring like to the girls, they, you would put chalte, like they chalte hai, chalti, sorry, they chalti hai, and it would be like the girls are walking.
That is correct. That is correct. Like if both are girls, then वे चलती हैं. So to counter your point, she's saying like if they both are female, JD, okay, they both are female and you are using वे, वे चलती हैं, वे बोलती हैं, वे खाती हैं, okay, and that's what you will be using, right? Like you're talking about two birds, like चिड़िया, two चिड़िया, दोनों चिड़िया हैं, right? वे गाती हैं, right? So you're absolutely right.
I think the key is if they're animate objects,
That's right.
like living beings, it diverts to the masculine plural.
That's right. So right.
Regardless of the genders of the objects, of the subjects, I mean.
So right now, all of the
As
things.
opposed to inanimate.
That's right. So right now, all of them are living beings. Okay, animate. Now, Hindi, it gets interesting in Hindi because not all subjects are living. Like table, chair, all of them. How do you deal with those? So now we will cover those. Okay.
Ashu Ji?
Yeah, please.
I was also kind of having a thought that if you've got a masculine and a feminine together, then they kind of cancel each other out. And so it becomes neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could then argue that it should follow the rules for inanimate objects, maybe, I don't know.
So give an example. So same thing, Ron and Ria?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're saying is because there is a male and a female, it cancels out. And so maybe it should follow the rule. So it becomes, you could think of it as being neutral. So maybe you could argue that it should follow the rules for inanimate objects. Because like somebody said, you're sort of saying they. It's become a group.
So when the group, you end up group with two different or multiple, different genders, you end up defaulting to masculine and plural. That's what it is for living things.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, one thought could be that, for example, if it's Ron and Ria, you could say, well, they cancel each other out, so it's neutral. And maybe we should apply the rule for inanimate objects. So whatever that would be, whether that might be chalti hai
Okay.
or
I
something.
think
I
for
don't
living
know.
things, it's still masculine plural. For
It's still-
inanimate objects, it takes on the gender of the one that's closest to the verb.
Yeah. So why don't we do the so far it is living one. Now let's do the inanimate objects. Maybe then I'll understand your question better. Yeah. So one minute at a time. Okay. So let's do this one. So now let's say you go to a shop. Okay. A restaurant, Indian restaurant. How about that? Okay, and they want to say that hamare yahan we give, or you will find these things in our restaurant, and they say yahan samosa or dosa, and then I'm going to leave both of you. Okay. You want to use the form of the verb milna. I want to ask all of you, what do you guys think? What will happen here? What is the form of the verb milna here? And then what is the form of hona here? Or what is the to be form of the verb here? Okay. Yahan samosa or dosa, and to help you out here, this is samosa is considered masculine. Dosa is also considered masculine. Okay, so you have this one, and now you have yahan, and it's common. You will see that in some of the Indian restaurants. Yahan chai or coffee. Okay, use the form of milna here, and then this part. And chai, as you know, is feminine. Coffee is also feminine. Then we will do the combination, chai or coffee, and then samosa and coffee, and chai and dosa, right? So let's start with this one. Both masculine, both feminine. All right, you can write it down so that way everybody gets this opportunity. Yeah, and Modangji, before I forget, I think last time we couldn't tell you, but this is Kelly Ji has shared the WhatsApp link. Join it, and that way at least you can be part of the practice group as well. Or anyone who is joining for the first time and not part of the WhatsApp group. Okay, so let's see. Malaji, you want to try this one? Yahan samosa or dosa?
यहाँ समोसा और डोसा मिलते हैं.
Very good. So you are saying it's milte. Is it this hai or the other one?
यहाँ चाय और कॉफी मिलती है.
Okay, यहाँ चाय और coffee मिलती
है.
Okay, share your thought process. What is going here and what is going here? And this is, again, the rule is for the non-living things. Okay, samosa and dosa, both are masculine. Yes, Malaji.
Pardon?
Yeah, give a thought process. Why milte? Why not milta? Why not milti?
Well, samosa or dosa, they're both masculine nouns.
Okay, they both are masculine nouns. So
masculine
when
item there.
that's right.
And the chai or coffee, obviously chai is feminine, so chai or coffee, and I use milti.
Very good, right? So she's saying when both are non-living things and both are masculine, you will default to masculine plural. Chai and coffee both are feminine. When you're using it together, you'll default to the feminine plural here. Okay, you can replace it with the appliances like table, kursi, and then play around with that. Okay, or you can replace it with anything else. Let's say you go to a grocery store. Okay, and in fact this is what the homework is. I want you to replace it with some vegetables. Okay, and try to see what you come up with. You may have to think about it whether which vegetable is masculine or feminine, and that's when what we learned in the previous chapter will help you out, right? So some of you can put vegetables, some of you can do fruits like kela or seb or anar. It'll be fun. That way at least you will get to practice. Okay. And while we are doing simple sentence, as I keep saying, you can ask a question. Kya yahan samosa or dosa, and you can see what happens there. Okay. So far so good, right? Both masculine, you will end up using the plural. Now let's do the combination. So now we have here samosa, or coffee, and in the second one you have yahan chai or dosa.
Ashu Ji, dosa is the S the. Which the is this for dosa?
In Hindi you mean?
Hindi.
Okay, let's see. What do you guys think? Yeah, what do you guys think? Which the will be? It's a good question. Which the will be used here? Is it this the? This the?
Dosa or dosa? How do you say it?
Oh yeah. I understood your question. I'm asking some of you. Which one will you use? She's asking, and when you write in Devanagari, do you use this the
first one,
or the?
The first one.
Dosa is definitely from south, so it has to be the the third.
Which one?
This one.
First one?
The third one.
I think it's the first one.
Okay.
Can you say the da so maybe I can hear the difference? The da.
Because I'm the queen of not knowing Devanagari, so I'm just gonna throw it out there and think it's the first one.
Okay, so here's the trick here. Okay, it really comes down to what do you think, Radhika ji? I think Nandini ji, you said this one. Okay, what do you think, Radhika ji?
The first one is you pronounce it. It's not a da anywhere. It's a da. So it's a third one. Just that third da.
I think if you're a North Indian, you'll say dosa.
Yeah,
We don't
so
say
it's a retroflex.
We actually say dosa.
I think
I
think you got it correct. North Indians, we end up using this one because we are not saying it correctly. Our pronunciation is off, and we end up using dosa. But like the native, like they know the real pronunciation of it, so it's close to dosa.
The third one, yeah.
Third one, right? But if you go to all the stalls in North India, there you'll see yahan dosa milta hai. They will use this da. Okay, so that's this is the
yes, da.
Yeah. So this is the way the pronunciation is off. Okay. All right. So yahan samosa or coffee. Someone who has not tried before. Let's see. Who hasn't? Anthony, you have not. Who else? Anthony ji and let me see. Sometime I might just miss Susan ji, right? So Anthony ji will do this one. Susan ji will do this one. Anthony, go for it. Yahan samosa or coffee. What do you think?
Samosa or coffee मिलती हैं.
Which one?
मिलती हैं.
मिलती है. Okay. Why मिलती? Because you feel it feels right. Right? Yeah. So you're right, because when you're using inanimate objects, you look at the noun which is closest to the verb, and because coffee is feminine, you use milti. Okay, so this is the change in the rule. In the case of inanimate or living things, you always default to masculine plural. But when the nouns are non-living things, you look at, when you have multiple subjects, you look at the noun which is close to the verb. Okay, and that's why you have coffee milti hai. Susan ji, you do this one. Yahan chai or dosa?
Yahan chai or dosa मिलते हैं.
Okay.
Is it or मिलता है? I think it's मिलता है.
Very good. मिलता है. Sorry. मिलती.
मिलता है.
मिलता है. Okay.
Same rule applies. The noun closest to the verb.
Yeah. So that's right. So the rule here is like you're using looking at the gender of the noun close to the verb. And dosa, because it's masculine, singular, you are using milta.
Yeah. It's conjugated.
Yeah. Any questions so far? Anyone who's thinking it's hard?
Yeah. So Ashu Ji, so the rule changes there, even though there are two items coming there. The noun agrees with the last. The verb agrees with the last noun.
That is correct. That is correct. Like, the verb is really agreeing to the last one here.
So how is it different from the other sentences that we've been doing?
See, the other sentence, when they were Riya or Ron, they were chalte hain, or Ron or Riya, always defaulting to the masculine plural.
Okay.
Versus here, it's defaulting to, not defaulting to, it's looking at the like it changes. In the previous case, they were always masculine plural.
Because one is animate and one is inanimate. People are, with Rana and Riya, their animate objects are people, and this is samosa and coffee.
Oh, maybe I have a question then. So yahan chai or dosa milta hai, because milta is masculine singular like dosa. But if you go up above, you have yahan samosa or dosa milte hai. The first sentence, where you're using a feminine and a masculine. You have your samosa and your dosa. That's showing masculine plural at the end, not masculine singular.
Yeah, because
so is it that when two feminine come together, it goes milti, two masculine milte, but when a masculine and feminine, it agrees with the noun that is closer to the verb?
That is say one more time.
Inanimate for the inanimate, where it's inanimate, the verb agrees with the noun that is closest to it.
Okay, yes.
And just so that, they are actually both plural, so somebody was kind of asking, why is it hair? It's actually hair. But so this was what I was thinking for my thoughts previously, when you've got Ron and Riya said. So if they are both Don or chalte hain,
maybe
they're going as a group, and you could consider a group as being an inanimate object, because a group could be, well, it's not a living thing. A group is not a living thing. So somebody like Rupert Snell might then say, well, in that case, we should be using the same formula that we use for inanimate objects. So you could say, Ron and Riya, we're chalte hain. So then you might say they're kind of moving as a group, and then you might say, because Riya is the last one, you could say, no, Riya ve chalti hain.
Yeah,
That's why my thought was that somebody like Rupert Snell might argue that case.
I think to be perfect.
Ashu Ji, if it were yahan dosa or chai, it would be milti hai?
Yahan dosa or chai milti hai. That's right, because chai is feminine, right?
Could I ask two more questions?
Yeah, please.
I know samosa. Is dosa fried something? I hate it all the time, I don't know what it is.
Say dosa is like, you take the dough made out of the rice, and then you...
It's pancake.
Pancake.
Sour pancake.
Okay,
Yep,
to wrap stuff in.
Oh.
So, but if they're both masculine...
More like a crepe. Isn't it more like a crepe?
It's more southern India thing.
Yeah,
if
it's
they're
more like
both
a-
masculine and inanimate, like your first sentence, is taking on the masculine plural. Yahan samosa or dosa milte hai. It's not taking on the singular like dosa. It's taking on the masculine plural.
So let me say one more time, and then hopefully this. So right now we are talking about the non-living things, okay? And samosa masculine singular, similarly dosa masculine singular. When both are same, you're going with the masculine plural. Milte hain.
Okay, that's what I was trying to clear
Right.
up. When both are same, it defaults to the masculine plural.
Yeah. If it is feminine chai, coffee, you're going to feminine plural. Milti hai. Okay. One masculine, one feminine. You're going with whatever is closer to the verb. Milti hai. Feminine, masculine. Because this is close to the verb, you are saying milta. Okay. This part I need to check whether it is hai or hai. I need to check, and I'm gonna because Hindi speakers, when they're saying it, they don't pay that close of an attention. So it is quite possible that they will end up using the the interchangeably, and that's what I think Tyler G or one of you, Tyler or Colin, one of you, if I heard your voice correctly, you were trying to explain that Rupert Snell might argue that even though it's Riya, Ron or Riya chalti hai, right? I mean, so it is quite possible. It's quite possible because it's, as a native speakers, when they're speaking it, they don't really have the rules in their mind, right? And so they will just they will end up.
Snell, my all-time favorite book.
So I'm going to stop on Facebook because I know we are a little bit over time. So thanks so much for folks who joined.